It was a truly special night, one of those that remain etched in memory forever. The grand, history-filled hall had been transformed into a fairy tale setting where lights twinkled like captured stars spread across the vaulted ceiling. White and lilac flowers, carefully chosen for the occasion, adorned every corner of the space, filling the air with a gentle and sweet fragrance reminiscent of lavender fields in spring. The tables, elegantly set with white linen tablecloths and silver details, were filled with animated guests dressed in their finest attire. There was a palpable vibration in the air, a mix of joy, love, and excitement that was almost tangible. I, Laura, felt part of a magical spectacle, a privileged spectator of a night that promised to be unforgettable. Mari, my dear longtime friend, looked stunning in her sky-blue dress that highlighted her bright eyes and radiant smile. Every expression line on her face seemed to tell a story of happiness and love lived alongside John, her faithful companion of 25 years. John, elegant in his tailored suit, was always by her side, sharing smiles and kind words, demonstrating the deep affection that united them. As I observed the scene, my heart filled with joy to see Mari so full and fulfilled. She radiated contagious happiness, reflected in the faces of the friends and family surrounding them. The conversations were lively, filled with laughter and memories that echoed through the hall, creating a symphony of happy voices. The soft music in the background completed the enchanting atmosphere, creating the perfect backdrop for a night of celebration and union. The couple danced under an arch of lights hanging from the ceiling, as if they were under a starry sky. Every step they took together on the dance floor was a testament to the strength of their bond, a dance of love and companionship that charmed everyone. However, even amid so much brilliance and happiness, there was a subtle sense of tension in the air, almost imperceptible, like a light cloud in a clear sky. Without anyone noticing, a secret was about to emerge, a hidden truth that would turn that night of joy into a moment of revelation and profound change. While I was chatting animatedly with some acquaintances, feeling the vibrant energy of the celebration, something peculiar caught my attention. On the other side of the hall, Mari was looking at her son, Nathan, with an expression I had never seen before. There was something in the way her eyes followed his every move, something that mixed concern and discomfort, a tension that seemed to contrast with the general joy of the party. It was as if a veil of anxiety hung over her, something that made me uneasy. My curiosity was instantly piqued. I excused myself from my interlocutors and decided to discreetly move away, heading towards the garden where I had seen Nathan moments before. The garden was softly lit by lanterns that cast a warm glow over the well-tended flowers and shrubs. The cool night air was a welcome relief from the indoor hustle. As I approached, I noticed Nathan sitting on a wrought-iron bench, slightly leaning forward, with tense shoulders. He was incessantly fiddling with his cell phone, his fingers moving frantically on the screen as if he were typing an urgent message or trying to find an answer to a distressing question. His face, illuminated by the cell phone screen, showed signs of worry and something else I couldn't decipher. Cautiously, I walked closer, trying not to make noise to avoid interrupting whatever was happening. The night was quiet, and the sound of my footsteps on the grass was almost imperceptible. When I was a few meters away, I realized Nathan wasn't alone. A woman whom I didn't know was standing beside him, her expression one of despair. "You can't keep doing this, Nathan. He needs to know. He's your son," I heard her say, her voice trembling, filled with an urgency that made me freeze in place. Nathan looked at her with an expression of conflict and sadness. "I know, but telling now might destroy everything. I don't want to hurt my parents, especially today at their celebration," he replied, his voice full of pain and indecision. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My heart started pounding faster, and a sense of disbelief and shock took hold of me. The revelation that Nathan had a son was a heavy secret, a ticking time bomb ready to explode in the middle of that seemingly perfect night. I felt torn between the impulse to leave to give them privacy and the need to understand more about what was happening. The woman placed her hand on Nathan's shoulder in a gesture of support that seemed almost desperate. "He needs you, Nathan. It's not fair to him, to the child. We can't keep hiding this. He has the right to know who you are, and your parents have the right to know the truth." The garden, which before seemed a peaceful refuge, now turned into a scene of devastating revelations. Every word exchanged between Nathan and the woman resonated in my mind, leaving me with a sense that the night was about to take a completely unexpected turn, and possibly a devastating one for Mari and John. Strategically hidden behind a towering marble column, my trembling hands clutching its cold surface, I watched the scene before me with a mix of incredulity and apprehension. Nathan, whom I had always known as a vibrant young man, always involved in social activities and with an easy smile, now found himself at the center of an emotional storm that threatened to explode at any moment. The woman with him, unknown to me, displayed an expression of despair that almost seemed tangible in the air. Her eyes were filled with deep anguish, reflecting the gravity of the situation. "I can't keep this a secret any longer, Nathan," she declared, her voice trembling and laden with an urgency that seemed to echo in my chest. "He's your son, Nathan. He has the right to know who you are," she said, each word carrying a devastating weight. I was completely paralyzed, every muscle in my body tense, as if caught in a state of shock. Those words reverberated in my mind, creating a cacophony of thoughts and emotions that struggled to be understood. Nathan, whom I had always seen as a carefree and jovial soul, was now being confronted with a reality that would change not only his life, but also ours around him. Nathan, visibly shaken, tried to hold back tears as he looked at the woman with an expression that mixed pain and resignation. "I know he has the right to know," he replied, his voice breaking, "but how can I do it now? How can I tell my parents, especially tonight? It will devastate them." The woman moved closer, holding Nathan's arm firmly as if her life depended on it. "You can't delay any longer, Nathan. This child needs you, needs to know the truth. Your parents deserve to know what's happening, no matter how painful it is. You can't keep living this lie." The garden around us, which once seemed an oasis of tranquility, was now laden with almost unbearable tension. Every word, every movement carried an emotional burden that seemed to overwhelm the air. I felt like an intruder, an accidental spectator of a drama beyond my comprehension. As I listened to the unfolding conversation, a series of images flashed through my mind. The joy in Mari's eyes as she danced with John, the hope and pride she had always shown in Nathan, and now the inevitable pain and disappointment she would feel upon discovering the truth. The idea that Nathan had a child and had kept it a secret was a bomb ready to explode, turning that celebration into a nightmare. I felt a knot forming in my stomach as I tried to process what I was hearing. The woman continued to speak, her voice now a desperate whisper. "I've tried to be patient, Nathan. I've tried to understand your reasons, but I can't wait any longer. He needs you, and so do I. You need to be honest with your family before this destroys all of you." Nathan shook his head slowly, as if fighting against a tide of conflicting emotions. "I will tell them, I promise, but please give me one more night. I don't want to ruin this celebration for my mother and father. They deserve a happy night without worries." The silence that followed was heavy, almost suffocating. I knew I was witnessing a crucial moment, a turning point that would alter the course of everyone's lives involved. Nathan's secret was a shadow hovering over that bright night, ready to plunge us all into unexpected and transformative darkness. After the tense conversation in the garden, Nathan returned to the hall with a somber look, his steps heavy as if he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. His eyes, which usually sparkled with youthful enthusiasm, were now shadowed by anxiety and anguish. The scene of joy that continued to unfold in the hall seemed a cruel irony in the face of the emotional turmoil he was facing internally. I, still stunned by what I had heard, knew I couldn't let this pass. Mari and John deserved to know the truth, but I also understood that Nathan needed support to face this delicate situation. Determined, I decided to wait for the right moment to approach him. I watched him from a distance, waiting for him to move away from the crowd. Finally, when he headed to a more isolated area, I cautiously approached. "Nathan?" I called softly, not wanting to startle him. He turned slowly, his eyes meeting mine with a mix of surprise and apprehension. "We need to talk. It's important." He hesitated, clearly uncomfortable, but nodded in agreement. I led him to a more private corner of the hall, away from the curious eyes of the guests. The noise of the party seemed distant, almost like an echo of a reality becoming increasingly irrelevant in the face of the gravity of the situation. "Nathan, what's going on? Who was that woman in the garden?" I asked, trying to keep my voice firm and calm despite my own anxiety. He lowered his eyes, his fingers nervously fiddling with his shirt cuff. It was evident he was struggling against an internal storm, trying to find the right words. For a moment, I thought he would shut down, refuse to speak. But then he took a deep breath, as if preparing to dive into deep waters. "Laura," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I have a son that no one knows exists, not even my parents." The revelation, though not entirely unexpected, still hit me hard. I knew Nathan was hiding something, but hearing those words come from his mouth made the situation much more real and urgent. "How did this happen, Nathan? Why didn't you ever tell them?" My voice came out softer than I expected, reflecting my genuine concern for him and the family I loved so much. He sighed, his expression becoming even more somber. "I met his mother a few years ago, before I met Emily, my current girlfriend. It was something fleeting, but then she showed up with this news. I was terrified, didn't know what to do, and when the child was born, I was completely lost. I thought I could handle it alone, but now I see it's destroying my life. I don't know how to tell my parents without destroying theirs." Every word he said seemed to tear a piece of his heart. The pain in his voice was palpable, and I felt a deep empathy for his struggle. "Nathan, your parents love you. They will understand eventually. But you need to be honest with them before they find out another way. Don't let this secret erode the relationship you have," I advised, trying to convey strength and comfort in my words. Nathan slowly nodded, as if absorbing the magnitude of the task ahead of him. "I know, Laura. I just don't know where to start. I don't want to ruin their lives, especially now with this celebration." I took his hand in mine, a gesture of support and friendship. "You don't have to do this alone, Nathan. I'm here to help. We'll find a way to tell the truth together. It's the only way to handle this healthily for everyone." He smiled for the first time that night, a weak smile but filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Laura. I don't know what I'd do without you." That conversation marked the beginning of a long journey of revelations and healing, a journey that was just beginning. I knew from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same, but I was determined to stand by Nathan and help him face the challenges to come. I left that conversation with Nathan completely stunned, as if a whirlwind of emotions had been unleashed inside me. The revelation that he had a son no one knew about seemed like a crushing burden that I now carried too. The party continued in full swing, with laughter and music filling the hall. But inside me, a storm of thoughts and feelings formed, creating almost unbearable tension. I moved through the hall as if in a dream, or rather a nightmare from which I could not wake up. The happiness around me cruelly contrasted with the internal turmoil I was experiencing. The familiar faces of the guests, the carefree laughter, and the lively conversation seemed to belong to a distant world, a world where devastating secrets didn't exist. As I watched Mari and John dancing happily, I felt a tightness in my heart. They deserved to know the truth, to know this part of Nathan's life that was hidden, but at the same time, the fear that the revelation could ruin not just the party, but also their relationship with their son paralyzed me. What to do with this information that now burned like fire inside me? I decided I needed time to think, to weigh all the options before taking any action. The party continued to be a spectacle of joy and celebration, but I knew that once this secret was revealed, nothing would ever be the same. I needed to find a way to handle it that would minimize the pain for everyone involved. I sought a quieter corner, moving away from the buzz of conversations and music. The garden, where the revelation had occurred, now seemed like a haven of calm amidst the chaos. I sat on a stone bench under a leafy tree, trying to organize my thoughts. I needed to talk to someone, seek advice, but I didn't know who. Who could help me decide what to do with such sensitive and devastating information? The image of Mary, my older sister, came to my mind. Always sensible and understanding, she was the person I trusted for difficult times. I decided I needed to talk to her, but at the same time, I feared involving another person in this drama. Every choice seemed loaded with heavy consequences, and the fear of causing more pain prevented me from acting immediately. As I gazed at the starry sky, trying to find some clarity, doubt and indecision continued to consume me. Time seemed to drag on, and each passing second made the situation more unbearable. I was caught in a dilemma with no easy solution, and every option seemed to lead to a new path of suffering and uncertainty. Finally, I decided I needed urgent and confidential advice. I picked up my cell phone and with trembling fingers dialed Mary's number. I needed her wisdom and calm to help me navigate this emotional storm. The wait for the call to connect seemed like an eternity, and when I finally heard her voice on the other end of the line, I felt immediate relief, as if a small part of the burden had been lifted from my shoulders. "Mary, I need your help. Something very serious has happened, and I don't know what to do," I began, my voice faltering slightly. I told her everything, every detail of Nathan's revelation and the conversation. Her response was a mix of understanding and practical advice. "Laura, you can't carry this burden alone. We need to find a way to deal with this that's fair to everyone, especially Mari and John. But above all, Nathan needs to be honest with his parents. It's the only way to resolve this without causing more harm." Mary's wisdom gave me a new perspective, and with her support, I began to plan how to handle the situation in a way that would protect those I loved and help Nathan face the truth. I knew the road ahead would be difficult, but I was determined to do whatever was necessary so this painful truth wouldn't destroy the lives of everyone involved. Determined to seek advice from someone wiser, I called my older sister, Mary. Her voice on the phone, always calm and reassuring, brought me immediate relief. I told her everything, from Nathan's unexpected revelation to the moral dilemma now tormenting me. She listened patiently, allowing me to pour out every distressing detail of that night. After a few moments of silent reflection, Mary finally spoke, her voice filled with a serenity only someone with her life experience could possess. "Laura, I think you already know what needs to be done, but you're looking for confirmation. Nathan needs to tell the truth to his parents. This burden is too heavy for you to carry alone, and keeping this secret will only make things worse." Her words resonated deeply within me. I knew she was right, but the fear of the consequences still hung like a threatening shadow. "I understand, Mary, but what if this destroys his relationship with Mari and John? What if it ruins their happiness?" I asked, my voice revealing the uncertainty that dominated me. "Laura," Mary replied with her typical gentle firmness, "the truth can be painful, but living a lie is even more devastating in the long run. Mari and John deserve to know the truth about the grandchild they have. Nathan needs to face this now before it's too late. Their love for him won't disappear because of this, but the trust can be damaged if they find out another way." Mary's words brought a strange comfort, mixed with a sense of urgency. I knew she was right. Prolonging the lie would only increase the eventual pain for everyone involved. I took a deep breath, and with a new sense of determination, decided I needed to talk to Nathan again. I returned to the hall, now a little calmer, but with a firm resolution. Nathan was alone in a corner, seeming lost in his thoughts. I walked up to him, my heart pounding in my chest. "Nathan, can we talk for a moment?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He looked at me with an expression of fatigue and resignation. "Sure, Laura. What is it?" He seemed to know that another conversation was inevitable. I led him to a quieter room where we could talk without interruption. I sat beside him, trying to find the right words to address such a delicate issue. "Nathan, I spoke with my sister Mary. She helped me see that you need to tell the truth to your parents. Keeping this secret isn't fair to you, to them, or to your son." He sighed deeply, running his hands through his face as if trying to push away the weight he was carrying. "I know, Laura. I know I need to tell them, but I'm so afraid of hurting them. I don't want them to see me as a disappointment." I took his hand, a gesture of support and empathy. "Nathan, your parents love you. They might be upset or hurt at first, but the love they have for you won't disappear. It's better they hear it from you with honesty than find out another way and feel betrayed." He nodded slowly as if each word was a stone he had to carry. "You're right, Laura. I know I need to tell, but I don't know where to start. Can you help me?" Feeling the responsibility of supporting my friend in such a critical moment, I agreed promptly. "Of course, Nathan. We'll find a right moment to talk to your parents. They deserve to know, and you deserve to live without this burden on your shoulders. I'll be by your side for whatever you need." We decided the revelation should happen the next day, in a more intimate and calm environment, away from the social pressure of a festive event. Mari and John would need time and space to absorb the news without the excitement of the party. As we said goodbye, I felt a new strength growing within me. I knew the road ahead would be difficult, full of challenges and intense emotions, but I also knew that, alongside Nathan, we would be ready to face the truth and build a more honest and transparent future for everyone. The next day, the anxiety accompanied me like a persistent shadow as I headed to the cafe where I had arranged to meet Nathan. The place, a small refuge of tranquility amidst the chaos of the city, had a welcoming charm, with its exposed brick walls and the aroma of fresh coffee mixed with the sweet smell of freshly baked cakes. Nathan was already there, sitting at a table near the window, his expression reflecting a mix of nervousness and determination. When he saw me, he tried to smile, but it was clear that the weight of what was to come still oppressed him. I sat in front of him, trying to convey calm and confidence, even though my own heart was racing. "Thank you for coming, Laura," he said, his voice revealing a vulnerability I had rarely seen in him. "I'm very nervous, but I know you're right. I need to tell the truth to my parents. I can't keep hiding this." I placed my hand on his, a gesture of support and encouragement. "I understand it's difficult, Nathan, but your parents deserve to know the truth, and you deserve to live without this weight. We need to think about how to do this in a way that minimizes the impact for everyone." Nathan nodded, agreeing, but his eyes revealed a deep uncertainty. "Laura, I really don't know how to start. What should I say? What if they hate me for it?" I took a deep breath, looking for the right words to comfort him. "Nathan, your parents love you. They might be hurt or surprised at first, but the love they have for you won't disappear. The most important thing is to be honest and show that you're willing to take responsibility. I suggest we do this in a private environment where you can talk without interruptions and where they feel safe to express their emotions." He sighed deeply, as if preparing for a great effort. "You're right, Laura. I can't delay this any longer. But how do I explain everything? How do I say I have a son and that I've kept it a secret for so long?" I caressed his hand, trying to convey calm. "Let's start from the beginning, Nathan. Talk about the situation, how it all happened, and explain why you decided to keep it secret. Be honest about your fears and insecurities. They will value your honesty, even if it's difficult at first." Nathan nodded slowly, absorbing my words. The waiter brought our coffees, and for a moment we sat in silence, just listening to the comforting sound of cups being placed on the table and the soft murmur of conversations around us. It was as if time had slowed down, giving us a moment of peace before the storm to come. After a few sips of coffee, Nathan seemed a bit calmer. "I think we can do this tonight," he finally said. "I'll invite my parents to dinner at home. I want you to be there, Laura. I know it's a lot to ask, but your presence will give me strength." I agreed without hesitation. "Of course, Nathan. I'll be there to support you. We'll face this together." That night, Nathan invited Mari and John for dinner at his home. I arrived a little earlier, helping him prepare the meal and organize the environment to make it as welcoming and calm as possible. Nathan's house was modest but cozy, with family photos scattered on the walls and an atmosphere of affection reflecting his warm personality. When Mari and John arrived, bringing with them the joy and relaxation of a family night, the tension in the air was almost imperceptible. We sat at the table, and while serving dinner, Nathan began to talk casually, trying to calm his nerves before addressing the delicate matter. Finally, when dinner was ending and everyone seemed more relaxed, Nathan took a deep breath and looked at me, seeking courage. I nodded, encouraging him to go ahead. He then turned to his parents, his face serious and determined. "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about something very important," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "It's something I've been keeping a secret for a long time, but it's time for you to know the truth. I have a son. He was born a few years ago, and I kept it a secret because I was afraid of how you would react." The silence that followed was heavy and dense, as if time had stopped. Mari and John looked at Nathan with a mix of surprise and confusion, trying to process the information. "Nathan, what are you saying?" Mari asked, her voice low and full of disbelief. Nathan continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "I know it's hard to understand, and I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. I was afraid of disappointing you and didn't know how to handle the situation. But now, I want to take responsibility and be honest with you. I hope you can understand and eventually forgive me." Mari covered her mouth, trying to hold back tears, while John looked at his son with an expression of sadness and concern. "Nathan, we love you. We're shocked, but we want to understand what happened. We need time to process this, but we'll be here for you, no matter what happens." Those words, despite being full of pain, were a relief for Nathan, who finally felt he could breathe again. The confession, although difficult, was a crucial step in restoring trust and transparency in the family. And there, that night, a new journey began for Nathan and his parents, a journey of reconciliation, understanding, and renewed love. We decided that the best time for Nathan to reveal the truth would be after the party, in a calmer and more intimate environment where Mari and John would be more relaxed. Nathan, still apprehensive about his parents' reaction, asked that I be present to offer support, and I agreed without hesitation. The next day, Mari and John's house was quieter, with the remnants of the party still lingering in the air, but now with a tranquility that contrasted with the previous night's excitement. The living room, with its cozy furniture and the fireplace warming the environment, seemed the perfect place for such an important and delicate conversation. I arrived a little earlier and found Nathan visibly nervous, his face pale and eyes reflecting the anxiety he felt. "Laura, I'm so grateful you're here," he said, his voice laden with apprehension. "I don't know if I could do this alone." I placed my hand on his shoulder, trying to convey strength and tranquility. "I'm here with you, Nathan. We'll face this together." Soon after, Mari and John joined us in the living room, unaware of the weight of the conversation to come. They were relaxed, chatting about the party and the friends they had reconnected with. Nathan waited until everyone was settled, the soft lighting creating a cozy and intimate environment. When the moment finally came, Nathan took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. He looked at me for courage, and I nodded, encouraging him to go ahead. "Mom, Dad," he began, his voice initially weak but gaining strength with each word. "I have something very important to tell you. It's something I should have said a long time ago, but I didn't know how." Mari and John exchanged glances, a look of concern starting to appear on their faces. "What is it, son?" John asked, his voice calm but full of expectation. Nathan took another deep breath, as if preparing to dive into deep and unknown waters. "I have a son," he finally said, each word seeming to weigh a ton. "He was born a few years ago, and I didn't tell you because I was afraid of disappointing you, of how you would react." The silence that followed was so dense it seemed to fill every corner of the room. Mari and John were paralyzed, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief. It seemed as if time had stopped, and each passing second increased the tension in the air. Mari, the first to break the silence, placed her hand on her chest as if trying to contain a heart beating rapidly. "Nathan, you have a son? And never told us?" Her voice was laden with a pain that tore at the heart, the incomprehension reflected in every line of her face. John, on the other hand, closed his eyes for a moment, absorbing the magnitude of the revelation. When he opened them, his gaze was full of deep sadness, but also a determination only a worried father could have. "Why didn't you tell us, son? Why did you hide this from us?" Nathan swallowed hard, struggling to maintain his composure. "I was afraid of disappointing you, of how you would react. I thought I could handle it alone, but I was wrong. I need your help, your support, and I can't keep hiding the truth." Mari began to cry silently, her tears falling uncontrollably down her face. John stood up and walked over to Nathan, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "We love you, Nathan. This is a shock for us, but we're here for you. We want to meet our grandchild and help in any way we can." The visible relief in Nathan's eyes was palpable, and he finally let out a heavy sigh, as if a great burden had been lifted from his shoulders. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild your trust and create a real relationship with my son." From that moment on, the room that had once been filled with tension began to transform into a space of healing and reconciliation. The words of support and understanding from Mari and John, despite the initial shock, paved the way for a new beginning, where the truth, no matter how painful, would serve as a foundation for a stronger and more loving future. The silence in the room was heavy, as if each breath, each sob, carried the weight of years of unspoken secrets and fears. Mari sat in her place, her trembling hands clutching a tear-soaked handkerchief. Her face, usually radiant, was now marked by pain and disappointment, her tears falling silently, each drop a reflection of the suffering she felt. John, on the other hand, remained still, his gaze fixed on Nathan, an expression of disbelief and deep sadness in his eyes. He seemed to be struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the revelation, as if Nathan's words still echoed in his mind, trying to find a place to settle. Mari finally broke the silence, her voice trembling and interrupted by sobs. "Why didn't you ever tell us, Nathan?" She could barely lift her eyes to her son, the disgust and pain visible in every line of her face. "We love you so much. Why hide something like this from us?" Nathan, visibly shaken, tried to find the right words to explain the inexplicable. I was afraid, Mom," he began, his voice laden with emotion. "Afraid of disappointing you, of losing the love and respect you have for me. I didn't know how to tell you, and the more time passed, the harder it seemed." Nathan's confession brought a new silence, a dense silence, interrupted only by Mari's soft sobs. The pain in the air was palpable, a presence almost physical that filled the room. I felt like an intruder in that intimate moment, as if witnessing a scene of extreme vulnerability not meant for my eyes. But I knew my presence was crucial to support Nathan, who was facing one of the hardest moments of his life. John finally broke the silence, his voice firm but laden with emotion. "Nathan, we've always been here for you. Nothing could change the love we feel for you, but hiding something so important, it hurts more than you realize. Not because we have a grandchild, but because you felt you couldn't trust us." Nathan lowered his head, his father's words piercing his soul. "I know, Dad. I know I was wrong, and I'm so sorry for that. But I'm here now, ready to face the consequences and be honest with you. I hope you can forgive me." Mari, still fighting against her tears, slowly stood up and walked over to Nathan. She placed a trembling hand on his shoulder, her eyes red from crying. "We forgive you, Nathan," she said, her voice still weak but full of love. "We just need time to understand all this, but we want to be by your side, meet our grandchild, and help you in whatever way necessary." Those words, despite being filled with pain, were a sign of hope. Nathan let out a sigh of relief, as if a huge burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He looked at me, his expression a mix of gratitude and exhaustion. I gave a slight nod, indicating he was on the right path, that he was taking the first step toward healing and reconciliation. The rest of the night was a mix of emotions. Mari and John asked questions, trying to understand the situation and know more about their grandchild, while Nathan answered honestly, though hesitantly. There were moments of tension, of tears and sadness, but also of understanding and hope. With every word spoken, with every tear shed, the family began to rebuild the bonds that had been shaken by the secret. I watched it all in silence, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. Relief to see that Nathan was finally facing the truth, and sadness to witness the pain that revelation had caused. But I knew it was a necessary step toward healing, that the truth, no matter how painful, was the only way to rebuild trust and love within that family. When we finally said goodbye, I felt a new beginning was ahead of us. There was a long road to travel, full of challenges and intense emotions, but also opportunities to strengthen bonds and create a new reality based on truth and love. And I was determined to stand by Nathan and his family at every step of that journey, helping them find the peace and happiness they so deserved. After Nathan's revelation, the tension in the air seemed almost palpable, enveloping every corner of the house like a thick fog. Mari and John took some time to process the news, their minds in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The initial shock was replaced by reflective silence, a need to understand and accept the new reality that had been imposed upon them. In the days that followed, the house that had once been a symbol of joy and celebration now transformed into a space of introspection and healing. Mari and John withdrew into their own thoughts, each trying to find a way to deal with the revelation. Nathan, in turn, was visibly lighter, as if he could finally breathe after carrying such a heavy burden for so long. The wedding anniversary party, which was supposed to be a celebration of 25 years of love and union, had turned into a milestone in this family's life. No longer just a joyful memory, but a turning point, a promise of a more honest and united future. Mari, always a strong and resilient woman, was the first to take a step toward acceptance. After spending sleepless nights reflecting on everything that had happened, she realized that her love for her son was greater than any disappointment or hurt. She decided that the only way forward was to meet her grandchild and the child's mother and try to rebuild the trust and family bond that had been shaken. One afternoon, as we sat in the living room, Mari looked at me and Nathan with a determined expression. "I want to meet my grandchild, Nathan. I want to meet his mother, too. We need to start rebuilding our family, and that will only happen if we take the first step." John, always the family's pillar of support, silently agreed. His face showed signs of exhaustion but also a new resolve. "You're right, Mari. We can't change the past, but we can decide how to deal with the future. Let's meet this child and try to do what's right." Nathan, clearly moved, thanked his parents for their support. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. I know this isn't easy, but I'm ready to face this with you. I want you to meet my son and for him to know the wonderful grandparents he has." We arranged a meeting with the child's mother, Emily, for the next weekend. The anxiety was palpable, each of us feeling the weight of the upcoming occasion. On the appointed day, we met in a quiet park, where nature offered a refuge of peace and serenity. Emily, a kind and understanding woman, arrived with the child, a delightful little boy with big, curious eyes who seemed to inherit his father's sweetness and charm. The meeting was emotionally charged, but also deeply healing. Mari, with tears in her eyes, embraced her grandchild for the first time, feeling the warmth and innocence of the child who now became part of her life. John, in his restrained way, smiled and took the boy's little hand, offering him sincere affection. A new beginning was unfolding there, the start of a journey that promised to strengthen the bonds that had been weakened by the secret. Over time, the family bond began to rebuild. Nathan assumed his role as a father with renewed responsibility, striving to be present and participatory in his son's life. Mari and John, in turn, opened their hearts to the new reality, creating a space of love and acceptance where there had previously been only pain and uncertainty. The wedding anniversary party, which initially seemed marked by a moment of devastation, ended up becoming a symbol of resilience and hope. Not just a celebration of 25 years of union, but a milestone for a new beginning, where truth and honesty would serve as the foundation for a stronger and more united future. The restart was not easy, and each day brought new challenges and moments of reflection. But together as a family, we faced each obstacle with courage and determination, knowing that mutual love and support were the keys to overcoming any adversity. And so the promise of a more honest and united future began to take shape, bringing the hope that even in the most difficult situations, truth and love would always prevail.